All right. I got a response from David Chester, who is a recent PhD in physics on noncommutativity, and I disagree with his definition of noncommutativity because he's assuming there has to be an infinitesimal first to then have a non-closure of an infinitesimal parallelogram in gravity as torsion that then is non-commutative. And so he's saying that you have to first have a commutative, a commutator that establishes gravity out of quantum field theory or Yang-Mills theory, and then you can have torsion. And then the non-commutativity is created from the non-closure of the infinitesimal parallelogram. But this is not how Alain Kahn explains non-commutativity. It's not how Lou Kaufman explains non-commutativity. It's not how Basil J. Hiley explains non-commutativity. Basil J. Hiley is relying on Alain Kahn and Lou Kaufman, and they're both explaining that non-commutativity is more dense than the real number space-time continuum. It's more dense than the symmetric geometry, the commutative geometry. It is also discrete. So it's a discrete physics that's more dense than the infinitesimal. So anything based on the non-commutativity arises out of the non-commutativity. Non-commutativity is not a byproduct of a infinitesimal that doesn't close. And if people can't understand that basic concept, then they have all their foundation of physics turned around. And also the weak measurement experiments have demonstrated gravitational propulsion or anti-gravity. And so this explains that anti-gravity is due to the non-commutativity self-amplifying to the macro scale. And it has nothing to do with the infinitesimal, because you don't have to have a collapse of the wave function, as Basil J. Hiley explains. If you maintain the non-commutativity, there is no need for a collapse of the wave function, and so there's no need to have a commutator established as a differential equivalent for the commutative geometry. In other words, you just get a macro level non-commutative physics. So I realize that it is very common for people to consider non-commutativity to just be an extension of Riemannian geometry, but that is a fundamental misinterpretation. It's a convenient error due to the bias of commutative geometry that everybody learns as the wrong foundation of reality because they're not taking quantum physics seriously enough. And I don't do physics, so it's not my problem. All I do is I turn the physicists against themselves. I point out their own. I know who I agree with. I agree with Basil J. Hiley, and I agree with Alain Kahn and Lou Kaufman. And especially Alain Kahn's music theory explanation of non-commutativity, because that's how I got into it, is through non-Western meditation through the music theory, through a proper understanding of music theory, and then how that explains the various paranormal and spiritual abilities discovered in non-Western meditation, and that includes levitation as anti-gravity. So if people want to understand anti-gravity, they need to properly understand non-commutativity as a macro scale phenomenon. And I don't expect to hear back from David Chester, because he probably learned classical physics first, because most people do. And most people who take science seriously they are strongly committed to the Platonic math paradigm of commutative geometry, as Alencon states that the non-commutativity is considered strange and a nuisance for most scientists, because all of physics is based on commutative geometry with the infinitesimal. And so there you have it. There's nothing I can do about it, if you understand non-commutativity, it explains why we have the ecological crisis today. Because, as Roger Penrose explains, gravitational entropy is the opposite of the entropy of matter. And so all of our technology is trying to decrease the entropy of matter, and therefore we're increasing the entropy of gravity against the negentropy of life from the gravitational potential, that is negative entropy from quantum negative frequency and time reverse signal as non-locality, that's non-commutative. And I don't know, I guess people can't understand that because they're coming from the wrong foundation. They learned classical physics first. And I'm not trying to change other people's views, I'm just saying what the problem is, and this explains the ecological crisis, because everybody thinks, oh, we're having progress with technology. It's just it doesn't change the mathematics, because they have the wrong foundation of mathematics. So then the humans have been around. We can reverse engineer reality with science. We can discover, modern biological humans have been around for over 100,000 years. And that whole time we didn't have science, but we lived by non-commutativity. It was all based on non-commutativity, and spiritual training as quantum biology. So that's just how it's been, and eventually life will replace itself on Earth. And hopefully the same error, the same lie won't get established, and people are brainwashed to think, oh, it's progress, and here we are, with all of our gadgets and technology, but in fact we are having an acceleration of biological annihilation of life on Earth. And so we can't access water, fresh water, or it's too hot to grow food, or we have pollution in the air. The very basic concepts of ecological habitat are being wiped out, which is based on the thermal dynamics of abrupt global warming from the photons, the frequency of the photons getting changed and trapped as entropy in Earth's atmosphere, the biosphere. So there you go. Most physicists, they don't even talk about the ecological crisis. So, hey, now I can see myself. I sent David Chester a long response, and I don't think he's going to reply. I mean, I'm not a physicist, and so he's trying to say, Alencon's non-commutativity is just this vague mathematical thing, I don't think that's true. And I don't think Basil J. Haley doesn't think that either. That he already sent me a response. Non-commutativity. It's not just mathematics. It's the basis of physics. It changes all of physics. So there you go.